Hi, I'm here to walk you through my Hairless Forever CLI Gem for my Ruby final project. Well, let's get started. We are going to access our bin and start up our program. So as you can see, my program is starting up, giving us a list of dogs and asking us to input. What we're going to do first is just explain how we got to this section so far. The CLI class, which we have here, which is in a namespace with a module, so that way if this gem were ever to be run with something else that also has a CLI class, they won't patch over each other. The CLI class starts with the call method, which calls on the scraper class. As you can see here, our scraper class is named dogCatcher, and it's calling on the method catch dog breeds. So if we go over to our dogCatcher class, we can see that we have our class method of catch dog breeds, and this is our scraping. So we're calling on Nokogiri and using an open URI to fetch from this website our list of dog breeds. And what we're doing is we are assigning each attribute to a variable, which we're then going to be passing to our dog class using our find or create by name that takes in an argument of all of those attributes. Now that the scraping has been done, we go back to our CLI class and we can see that we get our welcome message and that we're setting up our loop for our program. So until the user input is exit, we are going to be running fetch dogs, fetch user dogs. And those methods call on other methods that also add to the looping ability of my program. If the user does choose exit, then the farewell method runs and the program ends. The first thing in the loop of the CLI class is fetch dogs. This method calls on the dog class, grabs all the dogs and stores them into an instance variable here. It then asks the user which dog they would like information on. Then I use the instance variable and called upon it the each with index 1. Reason I used each dot with index instead of each underscore with index is because this one takes in an argument, so the index can start at 1 instead of 0. And then we are putzing out our dog name that we got the name from our scraper class, which then was initialized with our dog class, and then we're going to put the index. And that is how we get our list here. Since I mentioned this dog.all, let's jump into my dog class. My dog class has the adder readers of name, description, height, weight, and physical characteristics, which were previously mentioned and grabbed from our scraper class here. The reason that they are readers is because the dog catcher class is writing them, and the dog class is just reading them. We have our class variable of @all, which is equal to an empty array that is going to store all of our instances of the dogs. We have the initialized method, which takes in an argument of all those attributes and sets up our readers. We have a save method that shovels self into the class variable of all array. We have self.all, which shows the array, which this is the method that we called back here in our CLI class fetched dogs. And while we're here, let's just go through the rest of the methods in our dog class. So we have self.create, our class method that takes an argument of all those attributes. And this is what initializes and saves. As you can see, we're setting our variable dog equal to self.new, which is our initialized method up here. And we're calling dog.save, so then we're going up to our save here, and then returning that dog. Then we have the find by name. We're using detect, so that way we can't overwrite one dog or essentially make a duplicate of a dog, because it's going to check if the dog name is equal to the name, and if it is, great. If it's not, then we are going to be using that in our find or create by name method, which was also called upon in our scraper class here. So if we find the dog, return that dog. Else, we want to create that dog and save that dog. I split these methods up so that way this program is more flexible. Let's return back to the CLI class. And so now that our program has run and we got our list of dogs, we want to get the user input. So gets.strip.toI, which is turning it into an integer. And we're saving that to chosen dog variable, which we are going to put into our show dog method and also our valid input to see if the input the user is valid. So what makes it valid? Basically, our user input has to be between 1 and the length of our array. I could have, for instance, used 10 here because there's 10 dogs, but that doesn't make the program very flexible, so I just want it to be equal to the length, so that way if more data is entered, it accounts for that. So if our valid input is not valid, if we go back up to our program here, we can see that we re-enter a loop, and so it will just go back to our fetch dogs. So let's try that down here. So let's say if we enter 15. See, it returns us back to our list. But if we enter, say for instance, 6, we get our Abyssinian Sand Terrier, and since we have our valid input, we are doing our show dog method now. So show dog, using the chosen dog that the person chose, -1 because of the index, and we're setting that to dog. Then we're going to put the dog name and the dog description, which we have here. We're Abyssinian Sand Terrier, and then we have our description. Then, would you like to get more information on this dog, yes or no? We're getting our user input again. If the input is yes, we're going to go to details chosen dog method, else continue method. So let's see what happens when we type Y. So now we have our height, weight, and physical characteristics of that dog. And then if we go up here to see how this works, our details of the chosen dog, again setting up that variable for which dog is the correct dog that we want. We have our dog height, dog weight, dog physical characteristics, and then we are calling on that continue method, which is also in our show dog method as our else. So continue, as we can see, is put out right now, which is press any key to see the list of dogs again, or type exit to leave, and then we're asking for the user input again. So if we press any key, we go back to that list. That is our fetch dogs. And then we can pick another dog. Let's go with 3. We get that dog. So we don't want information on this one now. And then it asks if we want to see the list of the dogs again or exit to leave. Let's go with exit this time. And you can see that we go to our farewell method here because, as called upon in our class method, our call method, our input is now equal to exit, and so we're going to go to farewell. And we get our little ASCII dog, and thanks for stopping by. And thank you for stopping by and looking at how my program works.